All right, welcome to episode 26 of the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Blondin. We're here for another week of sports and sports betting action. If you want to join us on Twitter or X, follow us at Overrated EXPER2. That's Overrated EXPER2. And on Instagram at Overrated Experience. Also on Facebook, Overrated Experience. Please follow, drop us a note, bring up any conversation you want about sports or sports betting. We'll get back to you. If you haven't joined us before, then you're in luck. I can tell you that. This is a newish podcast, been around for about a year and a bit, and we focus on, the common everyday bettor, the common everyday sports person like yourself, and the opinions you're going to hear from mine and mine only, and or whatever guest I bring on the show. And what you're going to hear in this episode is a recap of the NFL on week 13. And then we'll go into week 14 and look at the spreads and the over-unders for certain games I've picked out. And then we hope to post a second podcast this week, and that would be episode 27, where we focus on props. I can tell you, week 13 really sucked when it came to point spread. We were 0-5-1. We had one push and rest were losses. Not good, but we did hammer in a positive way the props, and maybe we want to shut this one down and come on back on Thursday when we post, or Friday morning when we post, and that is last week. What was our record last week? Big. We were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2. So 7 props selected, 5 won, 2 lost. Not bad. We seem to be in the minds of the players, know what's going on there, have good, strong predictions. And the spreads, probably impacted by some of the lot of stuff that's going on with the backup quarterbacks. But we'll get there. And I'm hoping those who have joined us before are having a great betting week and or came off a great betting weekend. And I welcome you back and thank you for the support ongoing. Please, spread it out. Spread the love. Spread the word. Send the link. Get people to test it out. Maybe they will, maybe they won't follow, but at least give it a shot to at least have one listen. So what's going on for you tonight, guys? What's on your betting card tonight? Here Tuesday, I got a parlay going, not looking good, for the Colorado Avalanche in the NHL and the Ducks, which I thought was the better play, was to take Colorado. Then at last minute, I decided to take a parlay alternative over, and I took them at 5.5, and they're currently up 2-0 heading into the third period. So I need 4 goals going into the third period. And also parlayed with the Hughes Bowl, the Jack Hughes and the 3 Hughes brothers playing the Vancouver Canucks, hosting the New Jersey Devils. That's already 2-1 in the first period. I don't fear that one, but it's that Colorado game I'm not too positive about. And other bets I had this evening was I did take another parlay. I took the Buffalo Sabres and the Detroit Red Wings in the NHL over for alternative total 5.5, which did hit over. Also took that with the Milwaukee Bucks and Knicks in the quarterfinal. I think quarterfinal of the Eastern semifinal of the NBA in-season tournament. The Bucks won quite easily, pulled away in the third and really pulled away in the fourth quarter. One there, did also take another parlay with the Rangers and Ottawa Senators. And here's a tip for you guys, and it's a tip for me, and I know better. Driving, in the car today, and one of the radio stations, TSN, it talks about their FanDuel plays of the week, or plays of the game, or plays of the day, whatever the hell you want to call it. And the play of the day was the guy from the morning show, Aaron Carolina, coming on, gave his reasoning why the New York Rangers were the play here. And part of it was that the Ottawa Senators struggled to score goals in the last few weeks. And why did I pay attention to that? Because it was a sound argument, sound reasoning why the Rangers were good value. And of course, the Senators pump out 5 goals by the second period, finished with a 6-2 win. The Senators had this game in hand pretty much by the end of the first period. But goes to show you sometimes, yes, there's a lot of chatter on the internet. Yes, there's a lot of chatter on the radio, a lot of TV experts. But you really got to, take that all in, trust your gut. really do your own research and come up with what you think is the best play. Nobody is going to give you the answers. They will not give you the answers. There's some good guys to follow out there. Also recommend following a lot of fantasy football, especially you get a lot of prop information that could help you out. So that's something I noticed today. I was dumb enough to take somebody's 2-second reasoning why that pick of the Rangers was the play, which totally bombed. And it also tells you the NHL is very, very difficult to handicap on a nightly basis. And going forward, I will not listen to those people on the radio. Shame on me. Shame on me. So we're going to look back on what happened, some storylines in Week 13 and my thoughts. A lot of things are happening. And let's kick it off with some stories from Week 13. What do we think? What do we think on what happened? Well, start off with one of the big games of the 1 o'clock hour was the Denver Broncos and the Houston Texans. Man, CJ Stroud's really putting up numbers. He's not afraid to throw the ball. He put up some good yardage against the Broncos. Once again, Broncos lose to the Houston Texans. But it does show you that, yes, the Broncos were on a heater. I liked them coming in to cover this 3.5-point spread at the time we took the play last Tuesday. Spread went down to 3, but it doesn't matter. The Houston Texans won by 5. And some of the things that stood out in that game were, one, I say this all the time, but there was a key play coming off an interception that Russell Wilson threw, and I think it was the third quarter or second quarter, that resulted in a Houston touchdown. But the play earlier where the Houston Texans had the punt, the play before that, there was a fumble. And one of the linebackers or defensive ends, I can't recall, the Broncos, all he had to do was land on the football. All he had to do was land on the football. And when you go from one game and many games where you see these miraculous interceptions, putting both feet in bounds, jumping up with the receiver, coming away with the ball, wrestling the ball away, and then you watch a linebacker who has a ball bouncing in front of them and doesn't know what to do. They look like they're trying to corral a chicken, like a live rooster, when attempting to pick up a fumble. He picks up the fumble. The Broncos have better field position. They're in field goal position already against Houston. And even if Russ throws a pick, it's not a gimme scoring opportunity for the Houston Texans. So you have to watch these games to kind of get a good take on what your opinion is on a lot of these football teams and the ways they won or way they lost, to maybe look at your decisions the following week. Because a lot of the analysis that we see are clips of key moments in the game that are either scoring opportunities or turnovers. But many times it's missed that there's bad decisions that were three plays down the road is what causes that scoring play, or a key field position, or points taken off the board, or a field goal erased, or a field goal attempt erased to a punt. And that's what happened here. If Dummy just jumps on the ball, drops on the ball, keeps it simple, it's a whole different ball game. Maybe the Broncos win. But also for you Russell Wilson fans out there, he's been solid the last 5-6 weeks. But I think that fourth quarter drive in the last 2 minutes there really showed his limitations. He's played well. I think maybe more credit goes to Sean Payton with the game plan, but he's slow. Russell Wilson is very slow. And I don't know if he's a half second behind when he decides to take off out of the pocket. He seems to fall down without contact. Like he's stumbling. He's top heavy or something. Like he's so bulked up top, and his legs are so small that he's not balanced. His head's too big or something. Because he falls down. Like he trips himself up. And it's usually a 1 yard shy of a first down or, when he could have had 5 or 6 more yards. But watch that next game. When he takes off out of the pocket and he goes straight up the middle, he tends to lose his balance before even getting into contact situations. And then when he does that whole drop back and kind of loop around, like bootleg around, he's slow and it's like a slow arc. So it's almost like the Titanic trying to miss the iceberg, but just didn't quite miss it. That's what Russell Wilson looks like out there, the Titanic. But he's solid. He's not the Russell Wilson of old, but it really showed that his magic might be gone, in that fourth quarter drive. Chargers, Patriots, 6-0. 6-0. A football game that ends 6-0. Like, if you had the the Patriots covering, plus 5.5, and you lost that bet because they gave up 6 points in the entire football game, you got to be absolutely sick to your stomach. It seems that the Patriots, in every game they play, they lose for the most part, but they bring the other team down with them. Like, just down. We're going to play such a shitty, ugly, unentertaining football game. Like, you're all in on it. I don't care who you're playing. We're just going to have an ugly, just turnover, can't execute big plays, can't finish in the red zone, some screwed up fumbles. Something's going to happen where the game just gets ugly. And how can you get more ugly in a 6-0 ball game? And the Patriots now have 2 wins. Billy Zapp was quarterbacking. I don't know what. Again, I'm going to advocate that it's time to move on. I am sure there's another coach out there, a younger coach, where you need a whole program concept change, not just a coaching change to pick up. The Chargers are in a different situation. They're going to make a move at some point to bring in a head coach to take what they have and add a little bit more onto it, but they have their quarterback and they have weapons there. They may not have the minds to move the chess pieces on the board to make that team a successful playoff contender. So, unlike the Patriots, where that needs to be blown up, you need a different draft philosophy, and you're most likely going to be picking top 3 and having to make a choice on quarterbacks. So that was just an ugly. I don't know what that was. Arizona knocking off the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a roller coaster of a team. To get manhandled by the Arizona Cardinals is absolutely unacceptable. Kenny Pickett, injured. It's not like he was doing much anyway. But Mitch Trubisky coming in, key fumble that led to, Arizona taking a 14-point lead. Pittsburgh couldn't put anything together to shut the Cardinals down. Several weather delays, which is weird, the Pittsburgh area. And again, what are you? When the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have a lot of talent all around, except the quarterback position. Kenny Pickett is not your guy. He's glass back there. He breaks. He's always injured. It's because he holds the ball too much, too long. He takes too many big hits. He's indecisive. He's probably those small hands that we heard so much about during the draft when he was picked in the first round. But he's not the answer. I don't know what the answer is, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to hang with the Ravens, the Bengals, and now the Browns with a quarterback situation like that. Mike Tomlin's hanging on as much as he possibly can with what he has back there, but even he has so much magic. Kenny Pickett? That's a tough one. Kenny Pickett, you're a fraud. Sorry, got to say it, but Kenny Pickett is not your guy. Now we look at Miami, and I just want to talk about Tyreek Hill. Can he be an NFL MVP, a non-quarterback? Is he not the most electrifying football player in the NFL right now? And even if you compare to quarterbacks, He's insane. He is so valuable. Nobody can cover him. He's always like he burned the Commanders twice on deep plays. He had 157 yards receiving of 5 catches. And they took the foot off the gas near the end there because they had the game in hand. He could have easily had 250 yards receiving if that game was somewhat even close. If the Commanders kept up in scoring. He is that insane, that quick. He's all over the field. He's exactly the football player that any team could improve of like 1 or 2 wins if he's on the field. Absolutely insane. Tyreek Hill. Well, yay, I bow down to you odds makers. I bow down to you sharp bettors. Because that line where the 49ers were favorites heading into Philadelphia did not make any sense at all. But they beat the living shit out of the Philadelphia Eagles. Just pounded. A slow start, first drive, and then Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel. Wow. Like can this man be stopped? And did you see in this game that the head of security for the Philadelphia Eagles was kicked out of the game? Like actually had to walk off the field to a standing ovation at Lincoln Financial Field. He got in the middle of a scrum on the side. Really didn't do much, trying to break something up. He was in a spot where he probably shouldn't have been. And he got tossed. So take a look at that if you haven't seen it. But weird moment. Haven't seen that before. But the Eagles, 2 weeks earlier, they got some breaks against the Bills, got some breaks against the Kansas City Chiefs. And they really had strong second halves in both games. But they could not keep up with the 49ers. The 49ers kept coming. And again, I applaud you for those podcasts that are for sharp players, for those who are crunching numbers and live in Vegas and have the area code and pay their property taxes in Vegas, because you earned your money by enabling that line to show the 49ers as favorites. So you are the geniuses, and we all live in your world. So I was wrong on that one. But 49ers, wow, might be unstoppable. But we've heard this story before. I'll take another crack at the Eagles, and I think it's even more important that they keep the number 1 seed and try to keep that home field advantage, because not to say that the 49ers can't come back in and do the same thing, but I like Philly's chances more if it's at home versus on the road. And one comment here, David Carr, not Derek Carr, David Carr, his brother. Do you remember the Houston Texan quarterback? Sacked 1 million times on a game-by-game basis. That was his reputation. Is it ESPN he works for, or Fox? I can't remember. He was talking today or the other day that because Jalen Hurts is not necessarily 100%, I think you've seen it where his knee looks a little wrapped up, and he'll take off out of the pocket, but may not be as mobile as he normally is. Talking about maybe sitting Jalen Hurts and putting Marcus Mariota in for the sake of the bigger picture, but going on to say that Marcus Mariota gives them a better chance to win right now. I got to believe that's because he's talking about the injury, not because they're on par if, each of them are 100%. But, do you hear what you're saying, David Carr? Do you hear what you're saying? You got a Jalen Hurts who has now traveled in his career to be an MVP candidate, one of the favorites, I think the favorite, at least up till last Sunday. And yeah, he's banged up. Is he 100%? No. What would you think that would do to your franchise if you put your arm around him, sat him down, said, "Hey, I know you want to play. I know you expect to play. I know you MVP is on the horizon for you, or potentially. But we're going to sit you down and put Marcus Mariota in because we don't think you're 100%. And we'll catch you in a couple weeks." What a stupid comment. What a dumbass comment. Why would that make any sense whatsoever? Your franchise quarterback, unless he is somehow on board with this, which he won't, you would even suggest to put in a backup quarterback a guy like Marcus Mariota, he's a backup quarterback, and I think he's in the right spot. He failed out of Atlanta, all right? So what are you thinking by saying that? Like, you totally derail the franchise and the season. And yes, you have 2 losses. You still carry the number 1 seed. But it's critical that you're still focused on the big picture includes that number 1 seed. Okay? What are you going to sit and go into Dallas on Sunday night? You're going to go on the road to Dallas and then put Marcus Mariota in there and Jalen Hurts can go? You got to be a complete moron to think that that is the right play for anybody. Let's look at the Eagles' schedule. Let's say you sat him down for 2 games and said, hey, Jalen, just hold off. So you got the Cowboys, and then you travel to Seattle on the Monday Nighter. Not saying the Seattle Seahawks are a Super Bowl contender, but you don't want Marcus Mariota going into Seattle on a Monday night. You know, you might be limping into the playoffs. You might have the Cowboys taking over the NFC East. What a stupid comment that is. Anyway, let's move on to Green Bay. Green Bay, what a story. I mean, are they the quarterback gurus? What's going on here? I mean, Jordan Love is completely a new quarterback compared to what we've seen at the start of the year. He looked great again against the Kansas City Chiefs. Keep big throws. Not afraid to make throws. Smart decisions. He looks in full control. You know, in that point in somebody's career where everything seems to be slow, kind of like Spidey sense, where you're thinking faster than what's happening on the field so that you can look at your 4 reads on the field and make the best decision possible. When to take off out of the pocket, when to move up in the pocket, when to hit a guy, you know, when he's about to come out of his turn and whatever. Like, it's just, he's in sync right now. And to knock off the Chiefs the way they did, they were in full control of that game. Kansas City was playing full catch-up. So Green Bay might be on the road. You know, they're 6-6. So let's look at their schedule now. So the Green Bay Packers, this week, let's see, the Packers are 6-6, and the rest of their schedule is pretty weak. And they got the Giants, should be a win. Buccaneers at home, should be a win. Buccaneers are okay, but nothing that Green Bay can't run through. At Carolina is a joke. At Minnesota, I don't know what Minnesota's going to look like by, you know, that near the end of the season. And versus the Bears at home, they're in the driver's seat. So, what a great job. And, you know, watch out for Green Bay and that program for the next 4 or 5 years if this is really the true Jordan Love. That is the recap for Week 13. Now we got to move on before we get too long here in the podcast to what's going on this week and what we like. Well, Thursday Nighter looks like absolute trash. But I'm going to play it anyway for the sake of, you know, entertaining you, the audience, and entertaining me, the viewer. So we have the New England Patriots visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers. And honestly, what do you take here? The Steelers favored in this game, 5.5. Was it 6.5, 5.5? I really didn't care because I was looking at the over-under as the only play I would attempt to make on this one. So FanDuel has the Pittsburgh Steelers as 6-point favorites, minus 110. But the 30.5, you know, I'm taking the over. And we're talking about a team, you know, on one side of this matchup that was in a 6-0 ball game. 6-0 ball game. But the Steelers, I think, you know, even with Mitch Trubisky, might put up some points here. Billy Zapp, I got to believe he's going to get the start again. I don't know that for sure. But, I mean, he's got to look better than he did, maybe. So this is more of a desperation play. I'm going to take the Steelers over 30.5 and then forget about it and move on to Sunday because there's nothing else there I like at all. And interesting, just going back to the New England-Pittsburgh game, do you take this as one of your teaser games by putting 6 points on that over-under and dropping it to 24.5? It's interesting to think about. Think about that. 4 touchdowns in the game, convert it, get you that over-under, and actually, 4 touchdowns and 2 of them, with missed extra points still get you there. That's wild. So I can't even do the math. Let's do the math here. So 21, 28. So if there was 12 for 2 touchdowns with 6 points each because they missed the extra points, and they got the third one 18 points and you would get the over if you had the teaser 6 points and only one of the 4 touchdowns had the extra point successful. Pretty sad. Think about the matchups we've seen previously before New England. Tom Brady versus Ben Roethlisberger. And these were playoff matchups. Guys with Super Bowl rings around, MVPs. And now it's this. Mitch Trubisky and Billy Zapp. Well, things change in the NFL. But on a Sunday, better matchups, more entertainment. I look at the Detroit Lions as 3-point favorites heading into Chicago and wonder, why are the Detroit Lions only 3-point favorites heading into Chicago? Is this because of that miraculous comeback a few weeks back where the Bears were up late and the Lions scored 2 late touchdowns? Still won by 5 points. And the way that Detroit handled themselves in New Orleans, yeah. Did they give up a late run by New Orleans? Yes. But is the offense the best in New Orleans? No. But even if you watch the Bears win in Minnesota, their offense had very few sparks. Justin Fields sometimes does sit in the pocket, make some great throws, but they're very few and far between. The Detroit Lions are on a run right now. I don't see them making that same mistake where they're behind against the Bears. Not happening. So let's go with the Lions, -3. Like that a lot. Indy-Cincinnati, what an interesting matchup. Didn't even mention them, like I missed on my notes here, the Cincinnati big win last night in Jacksonville as we talk about Indy and Cincinnati. So Jake Browning, I can't believe what we seen last night, because I got screwed because I had the Jaguars as kind of the easy parlay on my 3-game parlay, and obviously that blew up my face pretty well. But Jake Browning had a night in Jacksonville. And if you watch this game, there's another story. How many yards he had? He had 349 yards, was it? Or 354 yards passing. 354 yards passing for Jake Browning. Now, what I like about this is that Zach Taylor, head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, probably said, screw this, we're going all out. We're not having like a dunk and, who's got ball last, like he did against the Steelers the week previous. They know they have weapons. They have weapons that they need to get the ball in the hands of, a.k.a. Jamar Chase, things like that. So the Bengals did it. They won, and now they're 6-6 back in playoff contention, and we move on to the Indianapolis Colts Cincinnati game outlook, and we're going to talk about the over-under in this one. Listed as 39.5 on FanDuel. Jake Browning coming off, like I said, a 350-plus yard passing performance. Oh, my God. Gardner Minshew, the Colts quarterback, had a big game against Tennessee. Indianapolis has scored 40-plus more points in all but 2 of their games so far this season. That one of the 2 was a horrifying game against New England Patriots, where nobody wins in those games and nobody finds entertainment and nobody scores points, to the desire of the fans in the stands. But so I like this game to go over, and that's assuming that Jake Browning will get the same green light to throw the ball downfield to his horses, like I talked about. Watch out for, I might talk about this during the prop show. Chase Brown, running back for the Bengals, had 9 touches for 60 yards, and he had some big plays. So they're using all weapons to make it work with the Bengals. But watch out for Indy. They've seen now that Trevor Lawrence has a high ankle sprain. that they're foaming at the mouth and know that they possibly have a shot of catching them in the division. And so I like this game to have some points. And I think 39.5 is way too low, and it probably will go up by Sunday. So take it now. Write it down. Post it on the fridge. Make that note for later, but not too much later, because that line's going to go up if you like the 39.5. Jacksonville, we talked about. Trevor Lawrence, what a rough ankle situation. O-lineman stepped on his ankle, bent it back. He bent back. I don't know how. It's just a high ankle sprain that looked like it was torn up, and it was broken, and season over. Jacksonville season over. Another quarterback absolutely out. And we avoided that, it looks like, so he'll be back in a few weeks. I got to assume that CJ Beathard is going to be starting for the Jaguars this week in Cleveland. Cleveland is a 3-point favorite. I don't see how Cleveland doesn't cover the 3 points here with Beathard as a quarterback that is going to get first team reps, in practice, but not this Cleveland defense. I don't see him surviving and pumping the ball downfield for yards. And Cleveland with Joe Flacco in a Cleveland Brown uniform threw 254 yards last week, a week and a half into being on the roster for the Browns. Is that just a slap in the face of the Jets? Joe Flacco was sitting there in New York, looked terrible when he was in. Not the answer for the Jets. But suddenly puts up 254 yards in Cleveland on the road against the Rams. Looked pretty damn good. Made some big throws. And it feels like every other team that's picked up a quarterback or had to utilize their backup in some way has found way more success than the Jets have. Isn't that weird? Is that Nathaniel Hackett, though? I digress. Offensive coordinator. So Cleveland covers. I don't see Jacksonville being able to put the points up that they would with Trevor Lawrence. They're a team that slowly moves down the field. If Trevor Lawrence has to take off out of the pocket, he will. They're not going to get that here. Cleveland handles this no problem. Another game I feel is going to be one-sided is the Baltimore Ravens hosting the Los Angeles Rams. The Ravens are 7.5-point favorites. I'm not seeing anything that tells me that the Rams are going to hang in this game. Yes, they've won 3 straight, but yes, they can't hang with the big boys. Simple as that. They cannot hang with the big boys, and the Ravens are one of the big boys. So watch out. This game gets ugly probably by the third quarter. Matthew Stafford's on his ass the majority of the game. Probably leaves the game because he's banged up. He does not do, in my opinion, does not do well under pressure. He takes a beating. Don't get me wrong. He's tough. But he's going to take a beating, and he's going to be on his back, and he may not make it through this game. And watch out for a blowout in this game. Buffalo, Kansas City. Wow. Man, another big game, 4 o'clock game. 47.5 is where I'm aiming my efforts on the over-under. I'm thinking over. I can't sit there on a Sunday afternoon and look at this game and think under is the play here. 47.5. I got to hope that Josh Allen comes back after the bye week and starts dealing like he did against Philadelphia, where he couldn't be stopped on third downs and pushed the ball downfield using all his weapons. And got to also hope that, Kansas City's on their back foot chasing, so they got to also put the ball in the air, and this becomes a shootout, 31-31, 40-40. I don't care as long as it reaches past that 47.5. And really, when you think about it, why can't it? You know what? Buffalo's here. They need wins. They're chasing playoff spots. They're not chasing division titles now. They are chasing playoff spots. So they need these wins. And the only way they know how is to gunsling and let Josh Allen carry them to victory. So over 47.5 is the play here. The Sunday nighter. And probably the biggest, what would you call them? Frauds, posers, disappointments. How would you define what the Dallas Cowboys are? So they're in that same category as other teams in sport, where there are times where they look great, they look like their stock is on the rise, and then when it comes down to crunch time, they fail miserably. And everybody's getting suckered in again. Yeah, hey, Dak Prescott's having a season where he should be in the conversation for MVP because you're looking at stats. Great. But really, when you are about to place the bet in the window during playoff time, are you going to take a Jalen Hurts Philadelphia Eagles or a Dak Prescott's Dallas Cowboys, regardless home or away? All right, who are you taking, really? You put that mortgage on the line. And I'm saying that you should never do that. I'm just trying to emphasize the importance of the wager you're going to play. Do you really believe in Dak Prescott? Do you really believe that the Dallas Cowboys are going to come through in the crunch time? Do you not remember what happened twice against the 49ers in 2 straight years in the playoffs? Don't understand how the clock works, and the clock keeps running on a quarterback sneak. Multiple interceptions in an NFC in a second round playoff game in San Francisco last year. Why do you think it's going to change? Why do you think it's any different this year? What's got you convinced? And man, the stock in the Eagles went down pretty damn fast. They're 3.5 point favorite or underdogs here heading into Dallas, and they've lost twice. Wow, man! I think the Eagles are getting pegged down a little too quickly here. I think they covered 3.5, and watch out. The Dallas Cowboys are frauds, and they will fail. As soon as they hit the second round, all bets are off. Hey, that first wild card game, whether last year against Tampa, the year before against, I think it was the Seahawks. Can't remember who the hell they beat, but who cares? They're not going anywhere. They're not going through Philadelphia in the playoffs. They're not going through San Fran in the playoffs. It's not happening. So the Cowboys, I guess I would relate them to the NHL's Toronto Maple Leafs, my hometown Leafs. Great talent, but frauds when it comes to crunch time. You have the England national team, a lot of talents, but when it comes to crunch time, Euro final, World Cup, penalty kicks, fraud, can't get the job done. And there's other teams out there I can't think of right now in sports where it's like the great, hype, but just cannot get the job done. And the Dallas Cowboys are the poster child of failure. So this ain't your Troy Aikman Cowboys. This ain't your Emmitt Smith Cowboys and Michael Irvin Cowboys. This is whatever you see in front of you Cowboys that will disappoint you once again. Sorry to tell you that and inform you, but it's happening. Last but not least this week, we have a Monday Nighter where we have one team skyrocketing as far as stock, coming to the weak portion of their schedule to end the season, and the weak part starts with the New York Giants. They suck. Unless they're playing the Commanders, they're not going to come up with a performance that's going to be worth watching. But Green Bay, a 6.5 point favorite, I think covers it pretty easily. I don't see New York scoring many points. I see Green Bay controlling time of possession. Jordan Love, having a primetime game to further impress his development throughout the season. And maybe we'll look at his passing total like we did last week going into this game because he's on fire. They're letting him throw the ball. Him and Matt LaFleur are on the same page. And you got to believe that Jordan Love thinks they're slowing down for him. I think I talked about this earlier, but he's going to dice up the Giants. I don't see an issue here. So just a quick recap. Thursday Nighter, just because it's Thursday Nighter, 30.5 points over. That's the only play I can think is tolerable to take. Detroit Lions, -3 on the road, cover in Chicago. Indy Cincy, Jake Browning, Gardner Minshew with the quarterback matchup. You absolutely thought, when week one hit, when you think about these two teams. But anyway, points are going to be flying, and at least 40 points are going to be scored over 39.5. In Jacksonville, Cleveland, CJ Beathard will probably starting for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Don't like their chances in Cleveland. -3 is too low. Cleveland covers that quite easily. Take the Browns. Rams take on the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens coming off a bye week. I don't see why the Ravens can't cover the 7.5. I don't think Matthew Stafford makes it out of this ball game. He doesn't take every snap for the Rams. I don't want that to happen, but I just see it happening. They cover the 7.5. Buffalo, Kansas City, it's going to be a shootout. Josh Allen is coming in, guns a-blazing. Let's see what Patrick Mahomes can respond with. And if his receivers can catch, which is a little iffy, he'll absolutely be dialed up for this one. Eagles cover in Dallas, 3.5 points in the Sunday Nighter. Dallas are frauds. They're fakes. They're posers. And they're great, hope in the regular season will dash by the second round of the NFL playoffs. And finally, the Green Bay Packers get it done, cover the 6.5 on the hopeless DeVito quarterbacked New York Giants. And that's where you have it. The pleasure's all been yours as far as hearing my voice talk about all these games and opinions on the world of the NFL. I, again, thank you for tuning in week over week. Please spread the word. Join us on Twitter. Overrated, EXPER2. All the information you need to know is on the link in this episode detail. Please click it. At least show me you're there. Thanks for your support, everybody. The Overrated Experience for this week, at least these next couple days, and before I hear you again on the props, or hear me again on the props, we are over and we are out. See ya.